Hey guys, it's Abby and today I'm giving you some spooky recommendations. Abby from the future here. When I filmed this video and a few others, I had the camera way too zoomed in on my face, but I'm pre-filming because I'm heading off to do a master's, which is going to take up all of my time, so I can't refilm them. So I'm sorry that my forehead isn't in shot, and I hope you can deal with it and still enjoy the video. So enjoy watching. First things first, look at the jumper. Like, wait. It's got striped lining. I have a good friend. So yes, this is my spooky reading recommendations video. I don't tend to read a lot of spooky books, so this is going to be a little more geared towards people who aren't fully into like scaring themselves shitless when they're reading. So I have my little list here. I always have lists, I'm obsessed with lists, and I'm going to go through them. I'm going to be going through the books from kids books to adult books. Other than that, they'll be in no particular order, they just kind of increase in age range. As long as you feel you're mature enough to read it, read anything. I enjoyed these kids books and I enjoyed these adult books, so let's get started. First up is Sheets. Now this is a graphic novel. I can't remember the author off the top of my head, but it'll be on the cover art here. And this is probably the mildest thing on this list. It's not even really spooky. Like, the only spooky aspect is that there's a ghost, and it's not even a scary ghost. So if you really want to kind of get into the theme of things, but you don't want to scare yourself, this would be a good one. Next up is Kiss of Death by Malcolm Rose. This is a book about the plague. Two children go and visit a town which suffered from the plague, as most towns did in England back in the day. In like, what, the 1600s or something? And they take a coin that they shouldn't take. And stuff happens. And this is, yeah, it's very appropriate for the age range, but it's reasonably dark, so it was a really good book to read. I really enjoyed it. Then I've got Bloodwater by Dean Vincent Carter. I didn't enjoy this, which is why I'm putting it here. It's kind of at the start of going into more teenagey books. It wasn't for me. There's like a thing in the water that's killing people. And I was a bit creeped out, not gonna lie, but I wasn't engaged, like, at all. So this is actually being unhauled. I finished it, I didn't DNF it, I read it, because it's quite large writing, and it's only like 200 pages. But yes, this is being unhauled from my collection. But just because I didn't like it doesn't mean you won't like it, so that's why it's still on here. People have different tastes. Next up, there is The Black Book of Secrets by F.E. Higgins, and there's more books in the Tales from the Sinister City. This is another one which is creepy but not horror. So again, very good for this time of like not wanting to scare yourself shitless. I'm really not into scaring myself. Can you tell? I've watched like one horror-ish movie and I didn't particularly enjoy it. But these books are so interesting and they keep you so intrigued the whole way through, and they're just... I have read 2 of them, but I only own this one and I intend to pick up all of them. So yes, these are so good. Then we have Lemony Snicket. I don't actually own A Series of Unfortunate Events. I used to have the box set and my mum unhauled it. My mum sold it at a car boot sale without telling me. It's been a source of deep pain for many years. I still go on about it to her. She gets very annoyed. She loves me really and I love her really. But yes, so the only Lemony Snicket book that I actually own is All the Wrong Questions, which is... No, wait, is the series called All the Wrong Questions? Yes, and the first book is Who Could That Be at This Hour? And this is a slightly older book than the Series of Unfortunate Events. I'm tired. The end pages are cute as well, little octopi or whatever you call them. I've not read this book in years. There's coloured illustrations. But yes, Lemony Snicket always does things a bit creepy, a bit sad, and a bit just wrong. So if you're looking for a good kind of book, these ones is the best way I can describe it. Like, if you've read it, you get what I mean. Then we have one of my favourites, which is the Skullduggery Pleasant series by Derek Landy. I'm only holding up book 1. There are 13 books in this series. I'm not holding them all. They're also like neatly on a bookshelf. No. I absolutely adore this series. They start from 11 plus, I think. It says it on some of the blurbs. This is covered by a sticker. But yes, they recommend themselves as 11 plus. I think that they have aged quite well and have grown up with the reader, a bit like how Harry Potter did. They seem to be growing up as the readers get older. So, but they're still managing to stay within the 11 plus range. So, I mean, it's a skeleton detective, and there's magic, and it's set in Ireland, and like, do you not want to read this? What is wrong with you? Give it a go. Like, oh, I'm obsessed with these books. I managed to get this one. I got the first 3 in paperback, and I found this one, and so I bought it for £1. But I've still got the Faceless ones and Playing with Fire in paperback, so I need to buy them in hardback. But yes, this is a really fun series. It's really dark, really amusing, there's lots of jokes, and I mean, it's a skeleton detective, come on. Then we have a series by Joseph Delaney that goes by many names, one of which is The Last Apprentice, another of which is Spooks. Spooks is the UK version, Last Apprentice is the US version, and there are other names elsewhere. You can tell where I'm from by my accent. I got these on holiday in America, and therefore now I have to collect them all in the American edition. That's what I did with Harry Potter. It's not good. So I don't know how much you guys can see. I don't have a viewfinder. Well, not one that I can see when I'm filming. But I have the next 3 books in the series here. But this is all about controlling witches. So obviously he becomes an apprentice to a man who kind of hunts down witches and stops them from terrorising people. There are a few issues with the books in that, like, they seem relatively sexist, because it's very much like, you're a woman, I don't trust you. You're a woman, I do not trust you. And I get that that's kind of like what it's meant to be, but they're still enjoyable. Like, I thought I'd point out that issue. There's also nice chapter headers. But yeah, I thought I'd point out that issue because it is an issue. However, they're still really enjoyable books and very good for this spooky season. Then we have The Messenger of Fear by Michael Grant, and there's also The Tattooed Heart, which is the 2nd book in the series. There should be a 3rd one coming out soon, I hope. I can't wait. And this is about a girl who has died, and she has been recruited. She has been recruited by the Messenger of Fear, and she has to help him with his task. It's really awkward to describe without spoiling it for you guys. I mean, for starters, these covers are gorgeous. I have no idea whether you can see the reflections. I'm just gonna move it in various different ways and hope, but there's little illustrations that are done in a glossy texture on top of this. It's got sprayed edges. I absolutely adored these books. I sprinted through them, and it says, warning, contains scene of cruelty and violence on the back. And they're by Electric Monkey, so they have that warning. And they're great. I love them. I am like obsessed with them, and I want everybody to read them. And I'm looking forward to rereading them at some point. Then we have Cold Bath Street by AJ Hartley. This book is set in the city that my university was in, and it's a really small city, so we were like, oh my god, there's a book set here. And it's really, really good. It's about a young boy who has passed away in the 80s, and kind of what happens on the other side and how he died, and yeah, it's a good one. Again, this is really hard to do because I don't tend to read the horror, so a lot of the books are based around some mystery as well, so I don't want to be like, yeah, this happens and this, because it ruins the book for you guys. So, what can I say? Okay, so there's a young boy, his name is Preston, and he passes away in this city, and he's in like kind of like a ghost realm, and there are other people there and they interact, and he finds out that there's something going wrong here and he tries to fix it. But it's all kind of spooky. That's the best I can do. Then we have Alice by Christina Henry. This is the first book in a duology. The second book is Red Queen. I've not read it yet, but I'm so excited to. Although that doesn't mean I'll read it anytime soon, because I'm really bad with that. This book is a dark, creepy version of Alice that doesn't really follow other kind of retellings that Alice has had in the years. So Alice is in a mental asylum and she's next door to a boy named Hatcher. Well, that's his nickname. And they talk between like a hole through the wall, and they spend years and years talking to each other. And one day they get out and Alice decides that she wants to track down what's happened to her. And it turns out that she needs to, and that certain things are happening within this world. And again, I am not good at the describing of books, like off the top of my head, but it's really dark, really gritty, definitely more like this is, I can't really with a good conscience say that this is a YA book. I think Alice is like 21 in it, and although like people who read YA will love it, it's kind of in that bracket where it crosses over, I guess, NA. We don't really have new adult here in Britain. It's just not a category that we have. You just kind of find books that you like and start crossing over. But in America this would be classified as new adult, I think. At least that's where I would put it. Then we have a thriller book. This is just a straight thriller and it's Cross Her Heart by Sarah Pinborough. This came out pretty recently in the US. It came out a little bit ago in the UK. My aunt currently has my copy and I don't live anywhere near her, so you're getting the picture of it. I much prefer the UK cover to the US cover, so I know that Books and Lala has read this and she really didn't like it. So if you like her taste and you very much align with her, I don't know if you'll enjoy it, but personally I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. My aunt has finished it. She also gives it 5 stars. It's, yeah. You follow a woman who is kind of odd. She always tries to stay out of photographs. She doesn't want to be in the media, things like that. And she has a daughter and she's a single mother. And then one day her daughter saves someone's life, a little boy's life, and so she's in the news. And that kind of kicks things off and stuff starts going wrong because people can find her from these photos. And I don't want to say too much more, but it's really, really interesting and I wasn't expecting the direction it went in, which is why I ended up giving it 5 stars. Next up is The End of Mr. Y by Scarlett Thomas. I almost read that wrong. I almost tried to read that bit. This is, I mean, it's blurbed by Philip Pullman, so I'll read the blurb. Blurb synopsis. When Ariel Manto uncovers a copy of The End of Mr. Y in a second-hand bookshop, she can't believe her eyes. She knows enough about its author, the outlandish Victorian scientist Thomas Loomis, to know that copies are exceedingly rare and some say cursed. With Mr. Y under her arm, Ariel finds herself thrust into a thrilling adventure of love, sex, death and time travel. So this is 100% an adult novel. If you are mature enough to read adult, go for it. Like, I'm not your mother, read what you want, but like, if you don't want to read an adult book, don't. Just, this one won't be for you. However, if you are fine with reading adult books, or if you are an adult, then I'm an adult. I'm 22. I'm 22. My birthday's on the 13th of October. I've pre-filmed this, but I'll be 22. That is odd. Anyway, moving on from my existential crisis about being an adult. So, as you heard from the blurb, there is a book that she finds and she kind of starts following and reading this book. And it's very rare and it's said to be cursed. And there is a recipe within this book that she tries to access and tries to make. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because that's kind of the mystery aspect of it. I got this at a charity shop and I picked it up purely because, I mean, the cover's really pretty and then it's a lot longer than your average paperback and a little bit wider, and then it also has, basically it was unusual looking and then the blurb sounded interesting, so I picked it up. Don't judge me. But yes, definitely an adult book, but I really did enjoy this. I think I gave it 4 stars. Oh lord, but oh, it's there. I still don't know where any of my books are. Now for something a little different, we have His Bloody Project by Graham McCrae Burnett. This is set in Scotland in 1869 and it follows a man who has been charged for murder, and he's not denying this charge. However, we kind of find out more about the events. So it jumps between different times. We jump between the trial for this man, what's his name again? Roderick McCrae. So we jump between the trial of Roderick and also life before he commits this murder, and kind of as we get closer to the end we actually read him commit the murder, and it's kind of a look at like, should he have special pardons for mental health, which isn't going to happen, it's 1869. Mental health. Is it because of like special circumstances which shouldn't get him off, but like, is it reasonable that he's done it? And then also looking at, this is not the correct word and I apologise, but racism? But I don't know what to call it, culturism, classism. So Robert McCrae is Scottish in the Highlands in the 1800s, so he doesn't speak English. He speaks Scottish, Gaelic, and this was very much looked down upon, and it was like, oh, you're a commoner, you speak that like feral tongue, and you weren't really respected by the Englishmen who had invaded Scotland unless you could speak English. So it's also kind of a look at that. That was interesting for me. My dad's from England, my mum's from Scotland, so it was interesting to see how half of my ancestry destroyed the other half. Although saying that, my mum's a lowlander, so like, not really the same, but still. She's from the southwest of Scotland, not the Highlands. But yeah, so it was like a really interesting look into that side of it and how the English kind of took away a lot of the Scottish culture and their language, same way they did with the Irish. Like, so many Irish people, like, they're technically speaking a foreign language because they speak English. Like, Irish Gaelic is their language, but so many of them speak English. I think most of them speak English, and it's exactly the same here, apart from I think even fewer people speak Scottish Gaelic. It just isn't a thing. Like, my grandpa, who is Scottish and in his mid-70s, I don't think he speaks a word of Gaelic. Not a word. My mum, I think she knows maybe 1 or 2 words, because when you go into Scotland, when you drive through from England, there's a sign saying welcome to Scotland, and it also says it in Scottish Gaelic. So she's driven through that a few times. I think that might be the only Gaelic she knows. So it is kind of sad that that language has been lost. And this is a very weird one. It was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize in 2016, apparently. I don't know if it won it. I assume not, if it doesn't mention this. Oh god, I forgot, it's got really small writing. But yeah, it's a really odd one. It's like, it has to be included in a, like, spooky recommendations or like Halloween recommendations, but it's very much more of a social commentary, although there is the whole aspect of the murder. So yeah, it's a weird one. Then we have a book that Lily C reads, made me read. Genuinely, I've been like thinking back and trying to remember. She is the first booktuber I ever found. Her Anna and the French Kiss rant review was the first booktube video I ever watched. And now I'm here making videos. It's her fault. So she read this and I thought, I need to pick this up. This is The Girl in 6E by A.R. Torr. It's about a girl who keeps herself locked inside of her flat and has been for like 3 years? Yes, 3 years, because if she sees another person she wants to murder them. And it's about her having to leave this flat, feeling like she has to leave this flat. It's her own choice to go, and kind of what happens and why she's doing it. And I would say, I ended up loving Deanna Madden, by the way, who's the main character in this book. She's the girl who's locking herself in. But I would say that there's a trigger warning for child abuse in this book. It's not major, but it's not like the focus of it, but it's mentioned. This is the first book in a trilogy and I definitely want to pick up the next 2. I really want to see where it goes from here. I just found it really, really intriguing. All of the characters were developed really well. There was really interesting plot points. I liked it. So now we're going to a bit more of a traditional mystery, and that is The House of Silk by Anthony Horowitz. This is a Sherlock-esque novel. It's a Sherlock novel written, but I don't know how to describe these. Like, it's not written by Arthur Conan Doyle, but it's Sherlock. And we follow Sherlock and Watson. So we follow them on a new case, and see, these are really hard to describe. The House of Silk is a phrase that comes up a lot when they're on this case, and so they start to delve more deeply into this, and it's shocking and disgusting. Like, if that happened in real life, which it has done, people would be infuriated. It's not a nice topic, it's not nice what they stumble upon, but it's Sherlock, so like, what were you expecting? And I absolutely adore this physical cover, this ribbon. I will mention this till the end of days. If you've read this book, you know what I mean, but this nice white ribbon as a bookmark. It's tied in beautifully. There is a sequel to this called Moriarty, which I have. 2 seconds. Ta-da! But this is on my TBR because I haven't read it yet. And they match. I mean, like, they don't, but they do. It's close enough. I'm only going through my read books, which is why this wasn't on here, but I'm excited. Now to go for a bit more of a classic is Macbeth by Shakespeare. I genuinely really enjoyed this. This includes 3 witches, the double, violin, treble. It's got murder. It's, yeah. I mean, most of you will know what it's about. There'll be people who can summarise it. A lot better than I can, but it's just a very enjoyable play, personally. And I enjoyed reading it, and I'm looking forward to watching an adaptation now I've read it, and enjoying that too. There's not too much more to be said about this. It's Shakespeare. And that was the last of the books. Now I've got 2 comics. One is The Damned, and one is Ghosts of the Past. These 2 are gory, violent, a bit creepy, some like more mystical aspects put through, so they're not just violence, they are also a little bit more spooky. And I really enjoyed them both. I got them both from NetGalley and enjoyed them, and I want to continue on with them. So if you are more into the comic / graphic novel side of things, then these 2. So this is my rather large spooky recommendations pile. This doesn't even include the 3 comics. So I'm just going to put them down because they're heavy. Oh, they're so heavy. And now my hand's dropped. Oh lord. Okay. Okay. Booktube struggles. I know. Come on. Come on. Haha! There we go. It's fine now. So yes, that is my larger than I expected recommendations for stuff to read this spooky season. Like I said, this isn't really full of like really like horror books, because that isn't my thing. It just isn't. But it is full of stuff with creepy aspects, with mysteries, death, violence, all of the things you want to read at Halloween. And one classic. So yeah, I hope you enjoy some of these books. If you've read them, let me know what you think and if you would have included them on a spooky recommendations, because some people don't include just like straight mysteries. So it'd be interesting to know. And yeah, if you do end up reading any of these, please let me know. I really enjoyed the majority of them. There's one that I didn't. Bloody Water, I hated it. But again, that's me. You may end up really enjoying that. So if the synopsis looks interesting, then go for it. But yes, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying this Halloween season, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!